Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Yeah, Moshe. There's Moshe. There's Ben. Rhoda. Rhoda. Putting the pressure on you, Esther.
I didn't know Mike's so friendly.
Rhoda, you know my new neighbor? Rhoda.
Yes, my mother knows Gilda. Of course I know Gilda. Hi.
They're my neighbors. This is Rhoda. Our almost best friend. Daphne, you were the most loyal. You and Ellie. Oh, it's so sad. It's just sad. But she had good everything.
Is Buddy coming too?
This is a good surprise. This is my uncle, my mother's brother, Robert Eichenbach.
Baruch Hashem, you have to check.
The rabbi gives classes down here in Young Israel.
Oh, yeah.
No, but he himself. But he
Hi. Yeah. What do we think? How are you?
The phone's broken.
Oh yeah, Susan. Wait, I never saw you in like a normal kind of your hair is different. Or something. How are you? Sorry about Dale. You must have been so shocked. I know. This is Judy. These are Dale and Lenny's neighbors from New York.
You look like a red best friend. Yeah.
You know why you look so young? Yeah, Susan. You look young too.
I could get the beard
I
off.
saw Shimmy. He's good.
I did my last.
Is this who I hired? Oh my God, Snap 7000. I'm Linda. How are you? Hi, how are you? You want to make a scenic dance? Yeah.
Morning, guys. You got Jonathan?
Got your back.
Very much.
We always got your back.
Plaza, that's where I'm going. When I can't make, I'm going right to the plaza.
That's why I tried to dress like her today. I'm trying to like really embody her.
Yeah.
Granddaughter was living a few months ago.
When you have the first food? Oh,
Twice in 1 week.
oh yeah. Wow. Pleasure to be seen. How are you? I'm excited. And I invite everyone to eat respect.
my sisters and sisters-in-law. They came down. And then, like, yeah, that was good.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
You gonna be right on top of me? Perfect.
Great, no, good for him and you. There's a connection. Yeah, it needs to be better.
Yesterday was a funeral. He was sleeping when he woke up and he ate.
I'm sitting down there.
Let's go get to your house. We had foreshadowing, but then I went to weird. I'm away for a couple of weeks. My brother. Thank you. We all allow this. No, really?
Hi, Dale. Hi, Sharon.
I was in Lakewood on Friday. And they let me in for my twin. of people from the hood. Yeah. A couple of people from the hood. It was okay. People say, how you doing? Either okay or, hanging.
One of you.
You want to come up when you have time to discuss the ticket because you keep going. And I tell everybody.
Get up.
Hi, honey.
Good, how are you? How's everything?
Short term, probably the long term.
I want to introduce my father.
Anyway, thank you, everyone. It's a great tribute to my dearly departed wife, Dina Esther, everyone's here. There are people from a lot of different places, different walks of life, and everyone is showing Kavod HaMeis. I just want to go over the schedule a little bit. I'm going to start with some opening remarks, and then Daphne and Ellen are going to read some Kapitel Tehillim and speak a few words. And then Moshe, my son, is going to give a siyum on Shas, and I'm so proud of him. He figured out how to have a real kollel in Israel, learn completely Shisha, Sidre Mishnah, and he's going to do the last one. And then we're going to ask some other people to speak. Rivki, Ben, Linda, Esther. And then at the end, if we have time, if people want to share some thoughts or some memories or some good times with Dale, we can do that in an orderly fashion. And if you don't have a chance to share your thoughts, I greatly appreciate you write it down or send in an email. And this is really a very special time. It was 7 months ago. Many of you were here. I had to see him for my father for his yard site, and it was a very happy occasion. And I remember that night Dale spoke beautifully. Everyone said, "Wow, Dale gave a great speech, much better than yours." I said, "Yeah, she's a really good public speaker, and really meaningful and really nice." And it was just 7 months ago. And then 1 month ago, it was Wednesday night, 4 days after Pesach. And it was like a perfectly regular day. And we said, Steve Jacoby's having a Siyum. Let's go to Siyum. So first Dale said, "Why don't you and Ben go?" And I said, "No, we want you to go." So Dale was at the Siyum, and that's why the next day when she passed, I went, how could she have passed? We just saw her at the Siyum, and I could never forget her sitting there in Steve Jacoby's house being part of things. And after the Siyum, when we went out to eat, because we always went out to eat, and we had fun, and then we went Davin Marv, because we always, but Dale really liked Davin Marv. I was like so-so in Davin Marv, and that was really the last day of her life, but it exemplified Dale. Being with people, learning, having a good time, socializing, eating, davening, and she really went out nicely. And Ben was supposed to go to New York the next day. It was the first time back in New York in like 2 years, and we had a nice meal together, and it was really pleasant. And then when we came home, it was just a regular night, and very pleasant. And then she fell asleep, and she woke up in the middle of the night really with a catastrophic problem. And as a physician, and as a husband, as a friend, it was something I've never seen before. That she looked okay and went to the hospital with me, and within a couple minutes, her soul departed, and we kept saying, "Where did she go? What happened to her?" She was just here. She was fine. We had Pesach, beautiful experience in the Waldorf with all her family, and great time. We were in Israel a couple of weeks before that for Bas Mitzvah with Yocheved, and we were all together. We shared so many experiences. So I have to say, the way she left was Misas Nashika. She didn't suffer in just 1 second. I witnessed it. It was like so crazy. I struggle with this to this day, how her soul departed. So I was reading Malachim Beis. It talked about Elisha was with Eliyahu, and Eliyahu was departing, and it says Rechav Eish V'Susei Eish, which is where we get the term chariots of fire. That chariot of fire came and took Eliyahu to Shemayim. It reminded me of this, and the soul departed, and with Eliyahu, only one thing remained, his adarto, which in English they call mantle, but I like Mickey Mantle, but I like to call it a cloak. And this is a very special term to me because one of our grandchildren in Israel is named Aderet. So Dale left us this adarto, this cloak. And when something happens to someone, the point is to learn from experiences and be strong and keep someone's memory intact. So I just want to speak some of the special things that she did, and having such a beautiful turnout here and people who cared about her warms my soul, and her spirit is hovering. We know it's hovering. So one of the things that Dale loved, and this is the funniest part, she loved animals. We had 3 dogs. I always said she loved the dogs more than me, which she probably did. And 1 dog I kept, and 2 dogs I gave away, 1 to Moshe and 1 to Rivki. And Dale kept saying at the end, I think Louisiana may be pregnant. We said, no. Anyway, Moshe and his wife Rivka adopted the dog, and like a week ago we found out that she was pregnant. And this morning, right on Dale's Shloshim, 5 puppies were born. 3 boys and 2 girls connected our distribution. So if you think, her spirit is not here, it's here. It's like really, really weird. So that was a certain thing she loved. She loved animals. She loved people. She loved Torah. She loved Judaism. She loved learning. I have so many memories of Dale. She'd get up 4 o'clock in the morning and be doing shiurim and needlepoint for 4 hours. I would say, Dale, why don't you try to sleep a little later in the day and relax? But she was like very focused on learning. And then like 2 o'clock in the afternoon, she'd be very tired. But that was her schedule, and she really kept to it. She learned on very high level. She loved Rabbi Victor Miller. He wrote a book, like really squeezed me out, called Olam Haba. I said, Dale, leave the Olam Haba alone. You'll get to there in due time. But she really was, very spiritual, and really learning on a high level. And she loved going to shul and everything. How could she have passed away? She was in shul. We just saw her because everyone always saw her. And during the shiva, I looked at 1,000 pictures of Dale. They were all exactly the same. A beautiful smile, cool sunglasses, cool hat, cool shoes, cool this, cool that. But the most important thing was the smile. So that smile is there. That smile is with all of us. I'm so happy everyone could join us, because this really was her community, even though she complained a lot. It was a little bit annoying sometimes, most of the time. But anyway, people were really special to her. And I just want to say, in the last years of her life, she had a couple experiences that were very important. The first was the main group. And I saw your sister the other day. We went to Lawrence, and a group of women would get together and pray and sing. And that's why I said, it's Rosh Hashanah today. And I'm sure Dale and your mother, Rosie, were sitting there singing, screaming, Hallel. And it was really, that's really what she loved doing. And it was so special. And I spoke to Lori Martin, and we had really a beautiful conversation with her. And then I have a lot of hakaras to a lot of people, but Esther particularly, and the people with her, you gave Dale meaning. During COVID, she started learning. Dale was a Jehovah's Witness. She always wanted people to learn. And when people have a choice, they didn't want to, but when it's COVID, you have nothing to do. So she was kind of happy to do it. And we helped create, a minyan in the Rogatinsky backyard. And I want to recognize Rhoda, who's like very special to us, and everyone else. And it really gave Dale a lot of meaning and special. And every Shabbos, it really, really was special. So these are the memories I have of her. I want to do something tonight because we never really had anything in Florida. She passed away Thursday morning, and then she's buried in Israel, and then we came back at beautiful Shiva. People were so nice. There was so much food. There's so much everything. And the caring people had, and the turnout like this tonight is really heartwarming. So this is what I just want my children and friends to remember. She was, a really special woman. She was on a different planet than everyone else. And she did things her own way, but she loved life. She loved doing things, and she loved her kids. She loved her family, and she loved Judaism, and she did everything passionately. And this is something we can all learn, because no one knows how long anyone will be. And we're here now, and you have to seize the experiences and take care and love the people around you. And thank you, everyone, for joining us. And I'd just like to thank the Pita Express family, who are my family, who couldn't be nicer. I told them 50 people, it's probably 100 people, and they do it with a smile. And during the Shiva, every day they want to give us more food, and said we have enough. And really love Hakaras Tov. Hakaras Tov to some of the Rabbanim who are here, and the friends, and I just don't want to single out people, and you give me a lot of strength. And people say to me in closing, what can I do to help you? So I always say, I wish there was something you could do to help me. There's not much to do, but just to know you're there as a friend, send me a text, caring, and be there, that is really heartwarming to me. And from the bottom of my heart, I thank everyone for joining us. I'd like to call up next Daphne and Ellen. Dale had a lot of people she always wanted to do learning with and film with. And many times we were in the car, and they'll say, quiet. I'm learning with them, studying with Daphne and Ellen, but they were really loyal in doing Tehillim. And Tehillim were a really important part of our life. So if you wanted to share one Tehillim with us and maybe say a couple of words, I would appreciate it.
Ellen's gonna go.
I just want to take a
Hold on,
minute.
one second.
What Lenny said is beautiful. The only thing I can add was that before, I don't remember when, but maybe Dale, I'm Dale's brother, Robert Eichenbaum. But what I remember is, I don't know where, at 8 years old, 9 years old, 10 years old, she was doing youth groups. She went on Shabbos, and she was taking little kids and started to sing Shabbat songs with them. Nobody knows where, but her love of Judaism started at such a young age. And we were all grateful. And to this day, I'm amazed that we grew up in Oceanside, Long Island, and she just every week went to do youth group and what is it, NCSY and all these things that had to do with Judaism, and that was her great love. So I can't add much, but I can add that even as a young child.
Before she met me, she was like Avraham Avinu. She discovered all this on her own.
Right. I mean, my grandmother came from Romania. She came as a religious woman, but we don't know where Dale got this enormous feeling from. She just started going to shul and doing youth groups, and it was a tremendous thing, and got well known in Oceanside, and that was her life. That's what she really loved. Can't add much to what he said, except as a young girl,
The early
she
chapter.
started.
The early chapter is interesting.
Early chapter. Okay, thank you.
All right, Alan.
Thank you so much for coming Speaking about my beloved Dad. Thank you, Lenny, for affording me this opportunity to recite Tehillim in memory of Dad. Before I embark on reciting today, please allow me to address the origin of our Tehillim recital. My father, Aaron Fader, Allah Shalom, had passed on March 20, 2019. It was Dina Esther. Dale called to wish me Nichol Avenu and suggested that we learn Dad's memory. Dad loved to learn Torah alone and with a chavruta. However, as an ordained rabbi, went into the Shmata business and met two children's teachers. We moved to Israel in the 70s, and my love for learning blossomed. Fast forward to my move to South Florida with Jay and my two daughters. Where I learned my Hebrew, I earned my Hebrew teacher's license, and I taught in various Jewish institutions. My father, Aaron Fader, sorry. I'll get that. I'm not. I'm sorry. Thank you again for giving me this opportunity to learn with you. There were from him chapters that were also converted into songs that we often chant together. I'll begin first by Persian sign, when Dale and I would sing very off-key, and I use my fake Hebrew accent to read. Thanks again for joining me as we memorize Dale Tefillah, Tehi Subhana Libracha. Shemos Agad, Micha, Kova Limer, Kakol, Sarai, Sarai, Nari, Kashu, and Apollo, Hane, Alima, Hane, Bogi Ralish, Kuma Lima, Hama, so to be able to Racha, Hashem, Otav, Shifti, Hashem, Bogi, Mekayai, so to be known Hashem, but every head of our it's been able to know beyond the eyes, it's really signal to the woman. God's how you worship on the right time. That's what I love, to claim to our Asher, Hashem, Shema Hashem, Kuliyaka, Manini, Wataman Hashem. Shema Hashem, Kuliyaka, Manini, the Khan, Nani, Shukna, Hashem, Abakesh. As I said, when I remember, I've touched my heart, as I see I'll teach you, Jimmy Tata, the bench, Yabibu Yasmin, Hashem Yasmin. Hashem Brahma, the Kami Borishon, the Macharai, as they have been at Sarai, Gamu, the Shepherd, the Red Hamas, the Nine Hemat, the Rosh, the Shepherd, Kaveh el Hashem Chazak, Yameti Nachas, the Kaveh el Hashem. So it's wonder. Shomando Elak, Hashem Sati, Tzamtai, Vayaneni Hashem, my intent to fast. I can see from now, Hashem, yeah. It's a corruption in Kakale, Amen. Vaya, Vigat, Thank you so much for joining.
Thank you, Ellen. I'm sure Gail hears that, and she really loved you, and you really were very special to her. Thank you. Daphne.
So Dale and I started to meet Helen during COVID, and she was always looking for a partner to learn with. And this is in her honor. Israel David, I deny Ro'i, Oatzar, Ben Odesha Yabitani, Amen Minukok Nachoni. Nafshi Yishaveh, Nachoni, Bamaglei Tzedek, Laman Shemo. Gam Keilech, Begaita Maveh, Lo Kurara, Ki Atahi Madi. Shiftecha Mishatecha, Hemei Nachamudi, Tarok Lefameshochan, Neged Toarai. Mishanta Vashem and Rashi, Kosi Ribiyah, Achto V'chesed Yudifini, Kol Yimei Chayai. V'shavti B'beit Adonai, La'orach Yemi.
You're always there. You never said no.
Could never say no to Dale.
Well,
Sometimes.
all right. Next, I want to introduce Moshe. And again, Moshe did an amazing thing because it's always hard to get people to learn all the Sidrei Mishnah. So he found a kollel that does it, but they really did it. And he's also going to sponsor a kollel, people learning in Dale's memory. And I'm so proud of you. And he's going to give a couple of words, and then he's going to do the siyum, and then we'll have a couple other speeches. Thank you.
As you all know, we are here right now memorializing our mother. Completely unexpected. Everything was fine 1 minute, and the next we had to get back on a plane to Fort Lauderdale, good, to mourn our mother's passing. Both my sister Yocheved and Ellen Weiss told me separately, this is the best time to be Orthodox. You get to throw all the questions on Hashem's shoulders and accept it. We had a fabulous Pesach in Orlando. My family flew home to New Jersey Sunday morning. Then Thursday morning, we heard the terrible news and had to fly back to Florida Thursday evening. We did not have a Friday since Pesach ended to call Mom to wish her a good Shabbos. Over Pesach, there was a great opportunity for us to bond together. What a blessing it was for this to be pushed off for after Pesach. If it had happened before or on Pesach, undoubtedly our Pesach would have been very difficult for us. We had the most memorable second Seder ever. My wife Zahava tells this story better than I. At the Seder, before the Seder, my parents had brought a full duffel bag of Sfarim.
Not your parents, your mother.
Toys, games, and gifts. And you all know my mom. She bought a game where you throw mini frogs into a cup. She said, whoever gets the frog into the cup gets an iPad. Everyone tried many times. My nephew Yaakov was the only one until at that point to get it in. It was not an easy thing to do. It's like if you're in Hershey Park or Universal, you scratch your head, can anyone really get that in? And in this case, our nephew got it in, and I think he got the iPad. I don't know. If not, we'll collect from my dad. Then my mom saw my wife Zahava, who was not participating at that point. Zahava said, Mom, I'm trying to finish up the Haggadah. The kids are tired. I need to get them upstairs to their beds, plus I have an iPad. So my mom said, whoever gets the frog in the cup gets a $2,500 necklace. So Zahava said, fine. First try, she got it in. At that point, there were several of the families that had their Seders next to us were watching this in great awe. People told us on Pesach that now they have much more pressure by their family to make their Seders more fun and lively after seeing ours. That was a glimpse into my mom. She was fun, but she did this to make the Seder fun for everybody. A few days later, my parents went back to the house. My mom brought Zahava the necklace, and this was less than a week before she passed. The last night of the program at the Chametz party, she brought cash and made sure to pay her grandchildren since they had agreed and they had said to Tehillim with her over the holiday. She told me, I gave the money to Zahava, please make sure she gives it to the kids and have the kids call me on Sunday to confirm that they received the money. A family that sat next to us at the hotel from Bergenfield, the mother had come to my house. I sat in Passaic for a few days, so the mother came to be Menachem Avol. They had all male children, so she told me that when her boys and her husband left to go to shul, she was alone and my mom was alone. Her daughters-in-law that were there were watching the younger kids. So she told me that my mom would walk with her together arm in arm. My mom would hold on to her and she would go through every one of her kids and grandkids and talk about how good they were and how proud she is of them. She would say, Yocheved, she's amazing. She's retraining. She's in film school. Her husband, Dov, is her loving husband. She puts up with it. He puts up with it. He loves his wife. He works full time. He takes care of the kids. He cooks and cleans and makes Shabbos, all with a smile. She would say, film school is not a joke at all. It's not a joke for 20-year-olds, and it's certainly not a joke for 40-year-olds. She would then go through every grandchild. She would say, Eli, the oldest grandchild of Yocheved and of all the Pienkos, is graduating from high school. She's going to seminary next year, then she's going to the army. She was so proud. Then she would talk about my family. She would say, my son Moshe is great. His wife is even greater. She would talk about Zahava. She's so together. She takes care of the kids. She's raising strong kids. She works. She gets them good insurance. Then she would talk about our children. My oldest son Yaakov, what a star. He's going into 9th grade. He's going to a school with a dorm. He's a great student and he loves to learn Torah. And look at him, he carries himself better than his father. She was beaming. Then she would go on to Rivki and Deborah. She would say, Rivki is doing great. She's such a star at Hillel. The kids love her and the school loves her. And Deborah is fabulous. She helps keep Rivki together. And look at those twins. Those are beautiful twins. I can't wait for them to be in Rivki's school next year. She would say, Shimi, such a Talmud Chacham, he's working hard in real estate. She would say, but most of all, most importantly, he learns. The money comes. My mother never worried about money. She said, HaKadosh Baruch Hu will pay. She liked Shimi and she loved Jessica. My mother loved her girls. So when the boys got married, she was very happy. She had 2 new daughters to love. She would say, Jessica is so popular, a social worker in Baltimore public schools. She gets great insurance. and she's very frum and very blessed. She would say, Ben, I love Ben. He's such a good kid. He's going to find a shidduch soon. I spoke to Audrey. She has a beautiful Syrian girl for him. Look how handsome he is. And then she said, as she was walking with her friend, she would say, let's go outside and say Tehillim. The last conversation I had with my mom was the last Sunday of her life. I told her we had taken a really early flight. We had only gotten a few hours of sleep. We had to wake up at 3:30 in the morning to catch the flight. I'm exhausted. She said, no big deal. You'll sleep tonight. There's nothing I haven't done. With my mom, her opinion was a fact. No one could argue with her or have another viewpoint. And then she would say, Lenny, he's our benefactor. He's the best doctor, and he learns. He takes care of lots of high-end people, but most important is that he's a learner. So when I heard this story during Shiva, it was such a nechama to me because I kept repeating stories like this. My mother davens 3 times a day with a minyan, says Tehillim, and learns. She would spend several hours a day listening to yutorah.org while she did her needlepoint. It was one thing when I would say it, but to hear it from somebody else who I'd never met before reminded me that it was the truth. I told her, you said it, not me. She was extremely spiritual for many years. When I was a senior in high school, she had told me that I have 4 years in Israel before I start college. This is every yeshiva bacher's dream, that I didn't have to fight with my parents. They wanted me in yeshiva. Nasi Yeshaya Schwartz, who's here, Rabbi Schwartz, he said he would see my mom every day. He would see my mom's car parked outside of the Young Israel of Hollywood for the 7:30 minyan. He would see her car with the windows half open and the 3 dogs in the car. He said that your mother was the Rebbetzin of Hollywood. Hashem took my mom, our mother. We don't have to ask any questions. As Yocheved said, it's the best time to be Orthodox. The community, and several of the communities where the Pienkos live, they've been so supportive. We like to be independent, yet when you go through something like this, you need the community's support. They have been so helpful, so supportive. We are so appreciative. Thank you all for the Shiva calls, the letters, the food, the phone calls, so meaningful, appreciated and needed. And especially tonight, everyone that's come. It's so important to all of us and to honor my mom's legacy. It's hard for me to single out individuals because I'll inevitably forget to list some important people. Please forgive me in advance. I want to name a few. I want to name Linda Singer and Danny and the family. We love you. Linda, you've been friends with my mom for 25 plus years. You were a good friend to her in her life, as well as after she passed. I want to thank the Rogatinsky family. Esther, you added such an important chapter in my mom's life. Esther, Sharon Brand, Sharon Stauber, Daphna, Ellen Adler. You allowed my mom to do what she loved most. All she wanted to do was to teach Torah, to say Tehillim with others. More than the calf wants to be nursed, the cow wants to nurse its calf. My mother was constantly growing. She became frum at age 16, and her religious life was one upwards trajectory. She never looked back. She found a loving partner who allowed and helped her to carry out her mission. They were partners for close to 45 years. My wife, Zahava, spoke to my mom every day, my sister-in-law, Jessica, as well. And Dov, Yocheved's husband, has been a great son-in-law. Rifki and Deborah, very good, a great daughter and daughter-in-law. My mother couldn't say no. We might have had to get into a fight with her, but then she would acquiesce. A child could ask her for the most unreasonable thing. like, Mom, can you lend me $250,000? And she would make it happen. My mom was full of fun. She went to most of my Ironman weekends. She would let me know if I was lucky the Thursday before. Otherwise, on Friday, she would tell me that she's coming. I'd say, Ma, you don't have to come. She'd say, of course I'm coming. She flew to my second Ironman in Canada, my dad, with the dogs. She said, why would I miss it? And it meant so much to me. She loved the theater, she loved people. She, of course, loved her dogs. She didn't care what people told her about the dogs, where she could bring them, etc. She loved when her dogs were there to make other people happy. During Shiva, I told the rabbi that she was very special. He said to me, the only things that matter to her right now are for us to send her presents. He said, the only currency that matters to her right now is Torah and mitzvos. My focus is to live up and to honor my mom's legacy. To that end, I am pleased to announce that we have endowed a night kollel in Israel, where a group of Torah scholars will learn together nightly and on Fridays in the memory of Dina Esther Bas Yitzchak. We have named the kollel Heichal Esther. It should generate nearly 2,000 hours of learning on my mom's behalf. Mom, you will always be missed, but we know that you will be enjoying a lichta Gan Eden. Tehei nishmasa tzrura b'tzur ha'chayim. Thank you. Now I'm going to do the siyum.
And we're going to have a couple other speeches afterwards, and we'll
I was at my friend's also with Ari Renoff, who couldn't make it tonight. His mother said that this is like Yom Kippur, only you can eat. So it's the same thing here. You can feel free to eat, but okay. The last Mishnah. This is of Maseches Uktzim, which is part of Seder. The last Masechta Seder Tyrus, which is the last Masechta, the last Seder of Shisha Sidrei Mishnah. Amar Rabbi Yoshua ben Levi, Asik HaKadosh Baruch Hu lahanchil l'chol tzadik v'tzadik shalosh milos v'asara olamos. Yoshua ben Levi says that in the future Hashem will give as an inheritance to every tzaddik 310 worlds. This is very cryptic. I happen to have heard Rav Schechter yesterday make a siyum on Shas Mishnayos, and he said this is extremely cryptic. And he gave a perush on it from I think the Malbim. I'm not going to go into it right now, but whatever it is, there's 310 worlds that are going to be given to every tzaddik. Shenemar lehanchil ohave yesh. The word yesh is the gematria for 310. They also say amole. Amar Bishim ben Chalafta lo matza kadosh baruch hu kli machzid bracha liyisrael elo hashalom. Actually, just thought of this now, but this was something that my father really strived for. Was shalom, was peace within the family, amongst siblings, amongst parents and children. My father's father also is one of his big mantras. We could probably use this Mishnah to sum up my father. It says here that HaKadosh Baruch Hu lo masa HaKadosh Baruch Hu kli machzik bracha liyisrael ela hashalom. Hashem, a kli that would hold bracha for Klal Yisrael is peace. Shenemar Hashem oz la'amo yitain Hashem yivarech es amo b'shalom. Solik Maseches Uktzim Shalom Seder Tyrus. Hadron Allah Shisha Sidrei Mishnah. Hadron Allah Seder Shisha Sidrei Mishnah veHadrach Alon. Daitan Allah Seder Shisha Sidrei Mishnah veDaitach Alon. Lo Nisna Shei Minah Seder Shisha Sidrei Mishnah velo Sisna Shei Minah. Lo ve'alma Hadem velo ve'alma Das. Hadron Allah Shisha Sidrei Mishnah veHadrach Alon. Daitan Allah Shisha Sidrei Mishnah veDaitach Alon. Lo Nisna Shei Minah. Shisha Sidrei Mishnah lo Sisna Minah. Lo ve'alma Hadem velo ve'alma Das. Hadron Allah Shisha Sidrei Mishnah veHadrach Alon. Daitan Allah Shisha Sidrei Mishnah veDaitach Alon. Lo Nisna Shei Minah. Shisha Sidrei Mishnah lo Sisna Minah. Lo ve'alma Hadem velo ve'alma Das. Harevna Adonai Eloheinu es Devrei Sorovscha Befinu Efios Amcha Be'Yisrael V'Niyah Kulanu Anachnu V'Tzetzahinu V'Tzetzahei Amcha Be'Yisrael Kulanu De'Shemelcha לומדי תורתך לשמה. מאויבי תחכמני מצוותיך, כי לעולם היא לי. יהי ליבי תמים בחוקיך למען לא אבוש. לעולם לא אשכח פקודיך כי בם תישאני. ברוך אתה אדוני למדנו חוקיך, אמן 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 סלע ועת. מודים אנחנו לפניך אדוני אלוהינו ולאבותינו ששמת חלקנו מיושבי המדרש ולא שמת חלקנו מיושבי קראנו. שאנו משכימים והם משכימים, אנו משכימים דברי תורה והם משכימים דברים בתהילים. אנו עמלים והם עמלים, אנו עמלים מקבלים שכר והם עמלים מקבלים שכר. אנו רוצים והם רוצים, אנו רוצים לחייל מבוא והם רוצים לרשחס, שנאמר ואתה אלוהים תורידם ולרשחס אנשי דום נרמה. לא יחצו ימיהם ואני אבטח בו. יהי רצון לפניך אדוני אלוהינו לסי כשם שעזרתנו לסיים שישה סדרי משנה. כך תעזרני להשכיל ספרים אחרים לסיימם, ללמוד וללמד, לשמוע ולעשות לקיים את כל דברי תלמוד תורתך באהבה, וזכות כל התנאים ותלמידי חכמים הנזכרים בסדר שישה סדרי משנה, תלמוד לי לזרי שלא תמוש התורה הקדוש מפי ומפי זרי וזרע זרי עד עולם, ויקוים בנו מקרא שכתוב, והלכך תנך עושך ושכבך תשמור עליך, והקיצוץ היא ששיחך. כי בי ירבו ימיך ויוסיפו לך שנות חיים. אורך ימים בימינה ושמאלה אושר וכבוד. אדוני עוז לנו ייתן מי ברכת ושלום. יסגדל ויסגדל שמי רבו. יומו הוא עשית לצחדסה. לחיים מסיה לעסוקה יסון לחיי עלמא ולמבני קרתא דירושלים ולשכלולה היכלי בנבי ולמעקר פלחונה נוכרה מן ערה ולאהב סובה פלחונה דשמיא לאסרי וימליך קודשא בריחו במלכוסי ויקרא לצמח פה קרני וקורא משיחי וחייכון ויומייכון וחי לכל בישראל בגלו בזמן קריב אמרו אמן ישמעו רבון וברך אלוהים היה יסברך וישתבח ויספאר ויסמן ויסנשא ויסדר ויסעלה ויסעלל שמי דקודשא בריחו לעילה מן כל ברכסה ושירסה וברכסה ונחמסה דאמירם בעלמא ואמרו אמן על ישראל ועל רבנן ועל תלמידיהם ועל כל תלמידי תלמידיהם ועל כל מאן דעוסקים ברייסה דיבה אסרא קדישא דין ודיבך שר ועשר יהי לנו להון לכון שלום רבו חינה וכסף ורחמי וחיי אריכי זון רביך ופורקנו מן קודם אברהם וישמעיה ויערה ואמרו אמן יהי שלום רבו מן שמיים וחיים טוב מעלינו וכל ישראל ואמרו אמן says shalom b'mromav v'barachim v'yashma aleinu v'okei Yisrael v'yirmu. I mean, there's one more thing. This is the tefillah that we say when it was learned for Liloi Nishmos. Ano Adonai Melech Mali Rachum Asher B'yodcha Nefesh Kol Chai V'ruach Kol Basar Ish Yiyeh No L'Ratzon Torasi U'Sfilasi Ba'avur Nishmas Dina Esther Bas Yitzchak Ugmo Na Ima Chesed V'Chazdecha Hagodol Liftoach La Shari Rachamim V'Chesed Shari Gan Eden S'Kabel Osa Tachas Eitz HaChayim Eitz Al Nishmas HaTzadikim V'Tzidkanios V'Chasidim V'Chasidos Lehanos Mizir HaShchina Ulehasbia Mituvcha HaSofun LaTzadikim Ve'Aguf Enuach V'Kever V'Menucha Nechona, Bechedva, Besimcha, Beshalom, Ki Dichsiv Yavo Shalom, Yanuchu Amish Kevosam, Holech Nechocha, Uchsiv Im Tishkav, Lo Ksif Chad, V'Shach Chavta, Ve'arva, Shinasecha, V'Sishmur Osa, Mechibut HaKever, Me'rima, V'Solea, V'Simcho, V'Sislach La, Al Kol Psha'eha, Kein Sadik Ba'aretz Asher Yaseh Tov V'lo Yechda V'Sashpia Lo Me'Rav Tuvcha Tzofon LaTzadikim K'dichsiv Ma Rav Tuvcha Asher Tzafanta L'Reyacha Va'alta L'chosim Bach Neged B'nei Adam Uchsiv shomer kol atzmosav achas mehena lo nishbra besishkon betach badod v'sha'anon mipachad ra'a ve'al yira p'nei Gehenna v'nishmasa tehei tzrura b'tzra chayim la'chayosa b'tchiyas ha'mesim and kol meisei amcha b'nei Yisrael. Amen.
Thank you, everyone. I want to call up Rifki now. I want to share one other thing. Many people in this room were very special. I don't want to single people out, but I see Tova's here, and Dale and Tova had a really special relationship because Dale always made her crazy for tickets to Israel, and Israel is very important. And we're always changing the tickets and bringing the dogs and making things very complicated. But they told me the deal that broke my heart. I was here this Shabbos, and people said, we're supposed to go to a wedding, and Dale said to them, sorry, Audrey, we're not going to the wedding. I'm going to be in Israel. And they turned out she wasn't in Israel. Anyway, thank you. That was a beautiful emotion.
I'm not going to sing. I want to share today. That was very mushka. That was a very good speech. You did a good job.
Shalom. Right? Like the Mishnah says.
I want to share 3 anecdotes with you about my mom, and then a short Dvar Torah at the end. So it's so interesting just looking around the room, just seeing so many different people from different stages of my life, from North Miami Beach to Lawrence to Hollywood, back to North Miami Beach, back to Hollywood, and it's very emotional. I don't know, it's weird that we're here, it's weird that I'm talking right now, so that's kind of the space that I'm in. But there was something that my mom always used to say to my sister, and I was just sitting in the car, like overhearing what she was saying to my sister, and it really impacted me. She would say to her, you know, Yocheved, before you get up to speak somewhere, you have to say the following statement, and kind of what everyone said when my mom said to her advice, it was really, she was telling you to do it. So she would say to Yocheved, before you get up and give your whole shiur and give your whole lecture, you have to say that I'm standing here because of my parents, and because of the influence of my parents, and because of the sacrifices of my parents, and because they loved learning Torah. And I thought about that when she would say that to my sister, and I'm like, yeah, she's right. It happens to be that I took that, and whenever I have the opportunity to give like a lecture, I think about that, because it's true. Any Torah learning that I have, it's because I was fortunate to be, like Moshe said, to be sent to Jewish day schools, and to be sent to like learning. And it's like, you're right, like ask people like, what do your parents do at night? It's like my dad learns Torah all night in the kollel, and my mom also learns Torah all night. And it's just like, this is what my family is about. They're about learning. They're about doing mitzvot. They're about davening. So that's my first thing that I wanted to share. The second thing I wanted to share was about this Megillah. And I want to bring you back to Sunday, March 13th. Actually, Friday, March 11th. My mom called me up on Friday afternoon, and she said, I'm in Barnes & Noble's, I'm buying comic books, and I really, really want to make a Megillah for the minyan. And I said to her, why do you want to do this? They have a million Megillahs, you don't have to do it. She's like, no, I want to do it. I already bought the Megillahs, can you meet me on Saturday night? So as was my routine, as I was talking to my mom, like, sure mom, sure, Saturday night, no problem. Then she called me Saturday night as soon as Shabbos is over, and she's like, so could we meet now? And I'm like, well, actually I'm tired, it's been like a long day, but come tomorrow. Also hoping that she wouldn't come, but soon enough, 9:30, my mom knocked on our door, and my mom's like, I'm here, can we do the Megillah? And I'm like, okay. So we sat down at the table, and we start going through like what's gonna be in the Megillah, and then like 11:15 comes, and I'm like, Mom, I have to go to a birthday party. So my mom's like, great, I'll come with you. So I'm like, do you really want to go to a 3-year-old birthday party? She's like, yes, I do. It's in the preserves. I've always wanted to see it. I'm coming with you. So I say, okay. So my mom comes with me to the birthday party. She babysits for like 5 minutes, and then she's walking around doing her own thing, and then she leaves. And then she's like, okay, where are we going next? I'm like, actually, Temple Sinai's having a Purim party. She's like, great, let's go. So she comes with me to the Purim thing with her computer trying to put the Megillah. Then it's around 3 o'clock. My mom's like, I'll see you at the house in a half an hour. We have to finish the Megillah. So my mom came back to our house, sat on the couch until 6 o'clock and made the Megillah. And let me just tell you guys something. It was a beautiful Megillah. It was beautiful. Typeset, beautiful. I put a lot of time and hours into this Megillah. Then she tells me she's taking it to Kinko's to get it made. She spends like $1,000, I don't know, to get it made. And I look at it and I'm like, Mom, how did it get from looking like it did on her computer to looking like this? And she's like, well, this is what the people at Kinko's did. So anyways, I just want to say this story because my mom wanted to get a Megillah made. That was all she wanted to do, and it didn't even come out the way that she wanted it to come out. But all she wanted to do was to make a Megillah, even though there would be a million Megillahs. I think she dragged you to Barnes & Noble's that day. But it actually reminded me about North Miami Beach, which was that when we were kids, she was a youth director for a time, and for Rosh Hashanah, she said that she didn't want to have any kids in the shul. They made too much noise, and I guess as she evolved, in her life, she then had the opposite viewpoint, like, why aren't there kids screaming in shuls? There should be kids screaming in shuls. Why are they taking all the kids out to youth groups? But my mom made like I don't know if you remember this, but like a Rosh Hashanah machzer with Peanuts cartoons in it from way back when for her first thing. And I actually said to her, I was like, wow, like, it's so cool. This is what you originally did, so many years ago for us as kids, and now you're bringing that love to a new place. So that is anecdote number 1. Anecdote number 2 is before Pesach, I was walking with my daughter Harriet, who has a tendency right now not to wear shoes. And she just doesn't want to wear shoes. It just reminded me right now. And we're like, something's going to get in your foot. And she's just like, okay, she's 3 years old, something will get in her foot. So it reminded me, I told her the story that when I was like around 11 or 12, I don't know if somebody could remind me, I actually got a piece of glass stuck in my foot. And it was stuck there for like 6 months. And it really hurt me. And I'd walk around and be like, Mom, I think I have something wrong with my foot. She's like, you're fine. No, it's really hard for me to walk. I think there's something.
Run it off.
Yeah, I really think there's something wrong with my foot. It's really hurting me. She's like, you're fine. So finally, I couldn't remember all the details of the story. Somebody could fill it in. I finally got the piece of glass out. I think I had to go under anesthesia. Like the story was like I was remembering when I was trying to tell the story to Harriet to put her shoe on. And then my mom told me later on that the day that she chose for me to get the glass out of my foot that I had there for around 6 months was the day that she was defending her dissertation at Barry University. And it was really chaotic and stressful. Like as an adult now, I can imagine that being really stressful, having to take care of your child at the same time of having to defend your dissertation. And again, I'm not quite sure about what happened in the details, but what struck me about this story is that like that was what my mom was about. Like the day that it was the most stressful day of her life, that she had put so many hours into writing a dissertation, and finally like the day that you defended, she's like, wait, let me add more stress to my life and take my child to an emergency room to get a piece of glass out of her foot that she's had there for 6 months. So again, I think that's just another story of just the greatness of my mom. Like, this is how she did things. Like, you think it's stressful like this? Oh, wait, it could be 1,000 more times stressful for you. But you could handle anything. And I have a third anecdote, and it's a pretty personal anecdote, but I want to share it with you. In 2010, in Lawrence, at 11 Muriel, I was having a really rough time. And everybody in their life is going to have a rough time. If you have not already had this rough time, I am telling you, it is coming for you. And it was really rough, and I was crying, and I was really crying. And my mom was like, what is wrong? Why do you keep crying? And I was just crying and crying and crying. And I remember earlier in the day, my mom had bought me like an iPhone, and I was so happy. And she's like, why aren't you happy? You got an iPhone. I was crying, crying, crying. And I remember I crawled into her bed, and again, I must have been, 28 years old, 27 years old. And I just said, I'm so sad, this is so hard, this is just terrible. And in that moment, my mom put her arms around me, and she said, everything is gonna be okay. Everything is gonna be okay. And then everything was okay, and it wasn't okay at the time, and things are hard. And at the moment that I needed my mom, she was there for me. She put her arms around me. And she didn't go into catastrophe about all the terrible things that would happen to me, but in the moment, she put her arms around me and she hugged me and she said, I will make sure that everything is all right for you. And I'd like to conclude with a Dvar Torah, which I've been thinking about for a while, that my mom's name was Dina Esther. And both Dina and Esther, at some point in their lives, they were hidden in some aspect of it. And while my mom did a lot of things out in the open, and she, screamed for rights, and she, wanted to make sure that everybody heard her opinions, there actually was a side of her that was very internal, and she did things that people didn't know about. And she did things in a hidden way, and that's the greatness of the story of Esther. It's so beautiful, Moshe. That was the name that you decided, Heichal Esther, that it was up to Esther to really, stand up. And Mordechai said to her, if you don't do this, it's going to happen. It's going to happen. Hashem is going to save the Jewish people. But maybe you could be the person that saves the Jewish people. And I really think that is my mom's legacy, that she stood up and she saved, she saved me, and she saved many people who are sitting in this room. And she didn't save us, we would all be fine, but she was the one that said, let me hold your hand, and let me give you a hug, and let me tell you that everything is going to be all right.
I want to introduce Ben. 2 years ago, a miracle happened called Corona, and Ben came to the house to live with us. And until last week, he never left the house. And he's really developed and grown and taken care of himself and being a man of fashion and exercise and style. And he had a lot of experiences with Dale. Maybe he'll share something with us.
So it really means a lot to me that everybody came out here tonight for my mom. We all know my mom and her, her, just the way she would be, her witty comments, her sharpness, and talking to you and saying things. She was very, very lively and funny. And we spent so much time together in these last 3 years. I mean, obviously, for the past 30 years, we spent so much time together. I'm her baby, of course, but it's, I'll never forget, so our last night, like my father said, we went out to Jacoby's, see him. Everything was good. I was actually getting ready to go to New York and to pay a shiva call to a close classmate friend of mine from elementary school and high school, and I was a little nervous. I spent the whole entire day wondering if she's going to give me her key to her apartment. I kind of was meditating on that the entire day. And then I popped the question to Mom. I said, Mom, I'm going to have to go to New York for a few days. Oh, you're going to go to New York? I'm so excited for you to go to the 5 towns. You haven't been back in 3 years. Take the key. So I was like, whoa. I couldn't believe it. So, and then we went to the Siyum at Jacoby, and then like my father said before, she said, I don't know, why don't just you and Ben go out to dinner? I said, no, Mom, you come with us. So she went out to dinner with us like we always do, and we have a lot of laughs that evening. She was so sharp and articulate. Number one, she was very excited for me to go back to New York. And, we were just really discussing this last few years, our jokes about Florida, our jokes about, different concepts and things. And we just had I remember the other thing. She said she didn't like her soup. So then I got in a whole conversation with her. I said, send it back. So then she sent it back. We're having a lot of jokes, and it was just such a beautiful evening. We even down with Marv, me and my dad, we went to Aish. We never go to Aish. We just happened to have gone to Aish down with Marv. And then I was, packing, getting ready to go to New York. I had my key. And then I got the text in the morning. Mom is very ill. Call immediately. I don't really understand. I don't know if we have any doctors in the room, but there's a connotation of way physicians write to people. And then I got the text, Mom is dead. At least we got to the point. last night, I just woke up to a text.
Don't go to New York.
Don't go to New York. I said, what is going on here? So I definitely had my like 10 minutes to really grieve. And then I went to the hospital, and of course, Linda and Danny were there, and Rifki was there, and it was just, I felt a sense from the concept of Vayidom Aaron. So when it talks about the concept of Nadav and Avihu when they passed, it mentioned that Aaron was very quiet. He was hushed. And I know at that moment I was very hushed. I was still in like a lot of very shock mode that this really happened. You know, my mom really, really was energetic, the life of the party. I feel her legacy every single morning when I wake up. Larger than life woman, special, articulate. Very articulate, sharp, smart, brilliant. And so I think that that's probably what was going on when I went to the hospital. I was probably so quiet because I just like, I saw how Hashem, I even heard this from a Breslov source as well. It said that Reb Nachman talks about how, you know, when a person dies, they go from one door to the next door. And that's kind of how I was feeling, that she did her part in this world, and now she's in the next door. So my mom is somebody that I really believe she had an Olam Hazeh. She had everything in this life. She had she had her people, she had her Tehillim, she had her green chair, she had Daphna. I remember that day. She said, excuse me 1 second, Daphna, my son just came home. And Sharon and Esther and Sharon Brandt, and it's just like, you know, every time I go to the Minyan, I feel her legacy right by the dock, right there, her chair. And it's just, they're so special that we know her, and we're going to live her legacy in everything about her. And, you know, thank you so much for coming here, everybody. Have a beautiful evening. Enjoy.
Thank you, Dad. We're almost done with the speeches, but thank you. I want to call Linda Cinder down met Linda probably 25 years ago in North Beach, 30, and there was nobody more loyal. And I'll just say, Dale wasn't always the easiest with Linda, we'll just say it like that. But Linda was always a true friend. All right, whatever.
Her brother, like everyone else.
No, I just didn't want to block anybody's view. I didn't mean to be deceptive.
Thank you, Lenny, and the whole family. I want to thank you for letting me participate in the Shiva. It was really meaningful to me, and I was very gratified to see how many people reached out to participate and how many people made Shiva calls from everywhere, near and far. People were calling me from all over the country and sending me emails and texting me, and it was a lot. I also want to thank the shul, the Young Israel, for setting up the Shiva. They did an amazing professional job, and I'm really grateful for their help. It's still impossible to process that Dale passed away and a month has passed. Even as I say these words, I can hardly believe it. Dale and I met over 30 years ago. Our kids were small, and we used to do a lot of things together as a family. We sent our children to the same school. We went to Hillel Community Day School, and and our kids were in the same grades. My younger and Alana and Shimmy were in the same grade. And I had become observant with Danny as an adult, so our family wasn't religious. And Dale and Lenny were like family to us. We would get together on all the holidays. Her kids used to come to my house after school, that's you, Moshe, and because I had the best food. And Yocheved used to pick up my kids from school. Our kids played together. And after they moved to New York, we used to visit them in Lawrence. We quickly learned what Central Avenue was. I would send my kids there for her to take them to the bus to camp. Once Dale's sister-in-law even took them to camp. I think my kids slept over at her sister-in-law's to go to camp. We would talk on the phone incessantly. We especially talked on the phone during the school pickups. My kids were always complaining that we didn't hang up. The last time I spoke with her was Wednesday, the last day of her life. We spoke that morning. You could call her early. It was good. I was on my way to work. Yeah, she was up. She told me about her Pesach and how great it was. She had a really good time with her family on the program. She had seen Esther and Sharon, and she was so happy about that. She also saw my daughter Alana. She told me how great she looked. She said how great her Shato was. It's a funny feeling now not to be able to call her. We would always find something to laugh about. We both have sons in Baltimore, and we could always find something funny to say about Baltimore. Baltimore is just fun. I was just in Baltimore, and I just so much wanted to tell her about the new Marriott and the new sushi place, but unfortunately, I can't. She isn't here to hear all my stories anymore. My parents and my children all love Dale as well, and were very shaken up by her death, and my in-laws also. My parents love to say how Dale would talk to them in the office. I don't think my in-laws like that as much, and ask them questions about their life. She was always interested in hearing about people's lives, especially older people. My children also talked to her all the time. She took a lot of credit for my kids. I think she thought she was totally responsible for how they are. She always made an effort to visit when the kids were in town. She came over for the Super Bowl when Max was there. She came to see Alana recently when she was there for Shabbos. Even 2 years ago, in February, at the beginning of COVID, I was in New York, in Queens, because Tamar, my daughter, was having a baby. She gave birth, and 3 days later, she had to go back to the hospital. Dale came to visit Tamar in the hospital. She did say after it was a stupid idea, as the pandemic started then. But that's the kind of person that she was. In fact, I'm pretty sure she came twice. Lenny came too. He told me to leave, and I did. I went home. He said, you better go home. It's a pandemic. My son Jonathan especially tried to talk to her on the phone whenever she called. I would get so annoyed. I wish I had let Jonathan talk to her more. I hope that our families can maintain our relationship. I know I'm going to make that effort. She loved her family so much. She was so proud of Lenny and what he does for his patients, including me, I'm just going to say. She was very proud of his Torah knowledge. She loved Yocheved and Dov and the kids, and loved visiting them in Israel, flying business class, thanks Tova.
Thanks, Lenny.
Yeah, Lenny. She loved going to Passaic. I know all about Zahava and her great job. She was so proud of Moshe. She loved Shimmy and Jessica. Jessica also has a great job. And Yaakov and Mary. And she always would say how much she loved babies, like no one else did. Jessica and Shimmy live in Baltimore like my son, so we had that in common. Once we even met in Barnes & Noble in Baltimore. She probably wanted to learn with me then, but I'm sure I said no. She was very proud of Rifki and Deborah and Harriet and Isaac. She was so happy they lived in Florida. She would always tell me how she would go there every before Shabbos and bring them food. Of course, she was crazy about Ben, her youngest, and I'm really glad that my son Jonathan and Ben are such good friends. She was a wonderful daughter-in-law to her parents, and daughter-in-law to Lenny's parents. I knew all of them, and I saw what a close relationship she had. She was larger than life, and when she was in the room, you knew it. She wasn't complacent. She had enthusiasm. She loved to have fun. She was always up to something. She loved shopping and had all the latest bags. She kept on top of the trend. She always had the latest Montclair coat. I saw on Facebook today, her daughter Yocheved in Israel wore one of her beautiful jackets for the Shloshim, and she looked great in it. I thought she looked great. We loved to go to the Sawgrass and go into all the stores. We both couldn't believe we lived near the Sawgrass, like such a fabulous mall, and we live here. She always bought something at Lululemon. We both agreed off Saks used to be better. She loved to wear funky outfits and shoes. She had 1,000,000 pairs of sneakers and glasses. I'm in the optical business, and I don't have nearly as many pairs as her. She loved walking through the neighborhood with her dogs on Shabbos and having everyone stop her and pet the dogs and talk about the dogs. Later, she loved to go to the Rogatinsky Minyan and hold court. She would talk to everyone. She was probably telling them what to do with their life and how it could be better if they would listen to her. But I also love the Rogatinsky Minyan. It gave me instant cool, so that's it. Dale had great leadership abilities. She got her PhD in social work, and she was never satisfied with the status quo. She always wanted to make things better. She wanted to make you better. For some reason, she always wanted me to be a reading specialist. I don't know. I didn't do it. I stayed a lawyer. But maybe it would have been a better profession for me. She was always moving and she was always growing. She was always toiling, trying to make the world a better place. She really wanted to help. She wanted to teach. She was an educator. She also believed strongly in informal Jewish education. She believed in Jewish camping. She's the one who told me, and both Danny and me, to send Alana to Camp Misora. It was casual, but we listened. And that really influenced our family. Our kids went there for many years. They loved it. And to this day, they have friends from camp that they're still friends with. Dale was in constant motion, trying to make this world a better place. If she was doing needlepoint, it was to help people who needed an outlet. She believed in the power of craft to engage and empower people. She wanted people to grow to greater heights, and whether it was from needlepoint, learning, shopping, she would find a way to make it about getting closer to Hashem. I spent time learning with Dale. We used to meet in Borders in Aventura. Yes, there was a Borders, also a Barnes & Noble, but we used to go to Borders. We would meet there and learn, and I know there's people here that also met her at Borders. Later, she gave a class in Hamifgash in North Miami Beach, which is an old restaurant that used to be on West Dixie Highway, and that was also well attended. During those years, she also taught bat mitzvah girls in the Hillel community. She spoke at school events. She had a passion for Judaism and wanted others to feel that passion as well. It didn't matter their religious affiliation. I know she continued with this work in New York. Dale looked at this outreach as a calling. She would also meet with people who suffered a loss, and she used to like to learn with them to try to ease their suffering. The first topic, when I was preparing this speech after Lenny asked me to speak, I was thinking about it, and I remember that the first topic that I learned with Dale was the Ashrei. She wanted to make sure I do that. So I looked up the Ashrei to see if it had any special, significance to our relationship. And I learned that the Talmud says that the sages assure to share in the world to come to anyone who recites Ashrei properly 3 times a day. According to my women's sitter from Lakewood, that I love that sitter, Ashrei is a psalm of praise. There are no requests in Ashrei, and I think that does apply to Dale. Dale learned in daven and joined the Amen group, not to get something, but to praise Hashem. She believed in the power of prayer. She believed in learning. Even when she was resting, she was walking towards Torah. I know that she's in the Olam Haba. She did mention that a lot when we would talk, and I would get nervous. I would say, don't talk about that. I would try to change the subject, but that is something she did talk about it all the time. She was constantly moving towards greater heights. Her life was about wanting to get closer to God and to keep growing, and I think in her 2 short life she accomplished that. I can't believe that she's no longer here. I always pictured my life with her in it. I already miss our telephone calls. I always feel like calling her and telling her, what happened to me that was funny. The values that she imparted to me and my family will stay with me forever. I can't imagine a time when I won't think about her. I know in time it will get easier, but I don't think I will ever get over that feeling of wanting to call her. I will really miss her. Thanks. Thank you for listening.
I want to call Esther, who was really the last in the Dale's life. And after that, I want to bench together, David Marv, and then we could talk informally if you'd like to. I just want to thank you. The last 2 years of Dale's life, you have been really special. Really meaningful. Really happy. So thank you.
Everything's already been said so many times, so it's going to be a little redundant. The past 30 days, while going about my day, I stop when something reminds me of Dale. And I think about her and how much I miss her, and all the little things about her. I'm sure there are many people here who have wanted to just pick up the phone and call her and tell her about what's been going on, and then stop when they realize she's gone. Dale meant so much to all of us, and after talking to so many of you over the last 30 days, I have really gotten an idea about how deep of an impression she left on everyone.
She was so interested in everything that everyone was doing. She really cared. She would constantly be giving everyone ideas and advice on how to better their lives and their children's lives. Everyone always used to ask me, what are you doing sitting with Dale every day? And it was just too hard to explain, but sitting with her every day for an hour was our time to reflect, and focus, and gather our thoughts for the day. I can contribute so many good things in my life in the past 2 years to Dale. She wasn't like anyone else. She was so funny to be around. When she walked in the room, I just started laughing because her wig was always on crooked. And she was always spilling her coffee that she was carrying around. And she always had 3 dogs in tow that she was tripping over. Her bag was always full of needlepoint and extra books that she carried around, leaving at people's houses. It just pains me so much to know that I will never be able to sit with her again in the living room and chat. The last 4 Shabbos mornings, it has been so strange that she isn't coming through the door all happily with her Parsha sheets to give over her version of the Parsha. I would always stop her and ask, where are you going with this, Dale? And she would just laugh and take it in stride. I think that's why we got along so well. When someone was sick, Dale was always the first one to sit down and say to Hillel. Everyone I have spoken to tells me the same thing, that all she wanted was people's time to talk, daven, and learn, but none of us could give her as much time as she wanted. Unfortunately, the Monday before she died, which was the day after Pesach, she texted me to get together and daven, and I asked her, Dale, are you going to be putting away my Pesach dishes? That was my last interaction with her. Of course, I wish I could go back in time and spend 1 more hour with her laughing and drinking coffee. But she knew that's how it was sometimes. Life was so hectic. Lenny and her children and the dogs were her #1 priority. All day, they were all she talked about and thought about. She was so happy that everyone was settled and doing their thing. She was so proud of all of them and their accomplishments. She loved her grandchildren so much and only wanted to go see them and, of course, shop for them and send them packages. Dale wanted to do so much in her life. She couldn't obviously get to it all, but she really tried. I remember when Corona first started, she had an idea to buy up houses in Hollywood Hills, start a shul, and then resell all the homes for a profit. In hindsight, we should have listened. Even the week before she died, when we were having so much fun with her in Orlando at the Pesach program, she had this grand idea to build a hotel like the Waldorf on her campgrounds. I'm sure it would have been lovely. She loved her camp and all the memories of being there. Another unique thing about Dale was all her collections. Her purses, her Birkenstocks, her sneakers, and her eyeglasses. Sawgrass Mills has put up a plaque in her memory. In some ways, we are all doing things to honor her memory. Every time we think, what would Dale have said to do? What would she have done in this situation? Her legacy carries on in all of us. All we can do is just keep davening, learning, and saying Tehillim in her honor to keep her spirit alive. And if you ever come across a dog who wants to daven with you, give it some coffee, because it might be Dale.
I think we should bench now, right? Okay. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, let's,
Yeah,
Judy,
we're gonna bench now.
let Judy share a couple words.
Oh, sorry, I'm sorry.
Sorry. Sorry. I'd like to introduce myself. My name is Judy Pellman, and I have a very brief little vignette to share with you. About 4.5 years ago, or a little bit longer, Dale called me on the phone. As I knew Dale, I really didn't know her all that well. And she said, Judy, if you're thinking about a career change, would you consider working in my husband's office? Now, I didn't know Dr. P, as we affectionately called him in the office. So I said, well, she said, listen, you're personable, you have people skills, why don't you think about coming? And I said, well, why is it that you want me to come? And she said, well, honestly, I'm looking for a sophisticated, mature, older woman. So I said, okay, I'll think about it. So then she said to me, but now that you're thinking about it, let's really have a positive answer. Do you want to come over? Do you want to have coffee? Do you want to learn with me? And I said, well, Dale, right now I still have a day job. I have to go back to work. I have to tell you honestly, she coddled me on the phone for 2 weeks. And unbeknownst to Dr. P, Dale said to me, well, now that you've agreed to come and everything is final, now you have to go into the office and actually meet Lenny. I really didn't know Lenny all that well. I actually met him with my late husband at Linda and Danny's house. Dale was very vivacious the whole evening, and Dr. P was on the quiet side. At the end of the evening, he started talking. I really didn't understand anything that he said, and we all said good Shabbos and we left. Well, here we are 4.5 years later, and I really owe a parasatov to Dale and to Dr. P, because I did come to work there. Many of you who are in the office know me. I really feel that it's a hand in a glove, Lenny, in our partnership. He's been a stellar person. It's been my privilege, and I have to thank Dale. So on a better occasion, we should meet at Simcha's, and you should all know Dr. P is the best. Thank you.
I think we should mention now and then, Marv, but if anyone else wants to share a couple words, I don't want this to be all night, but I think, why don't we have a couple more vignettes?
I want to first of all say how amazing Dale is, and I know that I got into Stern on my own merit, but she definitely pulled in some strings for me, and she made it all happen. And she never told that to anyone, but behind every amazing woman is an amazing man, and vice versa. And Dr. Pienko is awesome. So
And now she's a famous dermatopathologist. But we didn't get you started. You got yourself started, but don't worry. Thank you. Anybody else want to share any vignettes? How about Sharon Stauber? We have to hear from Sharon.
I helped Esther write her speech.
What? Sharon, you want to say anything? It was a beautiful speech.
It said everything I wanted to say, but I'll just say that everybody's pretty much said everything. I can be loud. I can be really loud. Don't worry. Dale was just full of life, and everybody knew it, and she cared about everyone. And like everybody else said, we're all going to miss her. It's happened to me over and over again. I'm like, oh, I have to tell Dale, and I can't. So I'm sure we all feel the same way, and hopefully we just all take in what she gave us and turn out better for that.
You made her life very special. I really have a lot of cars of hope to you.
Thank you.
I'm just going to say something very quickly. So the morning that Dale passed, Esther called me, and I got a text 6:30 in the morning, and she said, call me, and I right away knew something's wrong. And so I call Esther back. I'm like, what's up? She's like, Dale died. And I'm like, no. What do you mean? I'm like, probably the way everybody else reacted. Like, how is that possible? We were just together drinking lemonade vodkas, having a great time. And I said to Esther, I said, wait, Dale's job isn't done. She has a shidduch for Shira. She's supposed to get Mati into seminary, and she's still supposed to get Jacob into Potsdam next year. So Esther's answer was, don't worry, Lenny's going to be on it. We have Lenny. Lenny's going to do it all. And she's just going to be so missed. She was such a part of our lives. And there's no replacing Dale. One of a kind.
All right, so why don't we Robert Morris, you want to lead us? Betsy?